afford to do it because black's moves are okay, but like a bit slow. Knight g6 and queen c7. Rook c1 still looks good. Yeah, I could still play rook c1. True. It's just embarrassing, but that's probably something I should like get out of my mind, you know. Don't be afraid to make a move because it looks stupid. I mean, if you think it's effective, then do it anyway. What can I say? That's a mistake on my part to really, you know, be embarrassed to make a move because it seems stupid. Position changed. I mean, he put his queen on c7, so. Although in general, I try to be efficient with my moves. I try to make moves that will be useful in every situation. And it's just funny because when I made the move rook d1, I had paused for about 10 seconds actually debating which move to make, rook a d1 or rook f d1. And in my utopia, you know, the f rook was going to possibly play a role from f1. But in reality, or e1 actually, e1 is kind of what I'm hoping there. But in reality, okay, now knight f6. Now my queen is protected, at least, by the bishop on d3. We're going to try to centralize here. And we'd like to play e4 on our terms. Bishop d7 looks a little bit too stodgy. Liberian, thanks for challenging me to 10-minute. Maybe you have more time today. Usually you're playing faster games. No? Next game in line will be Ultimate Champion, and then Road to Noob. No need for a coin flip there. I was aware which one was first. Here now, e4, pawn takes e4, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, f5, bishop d3. Interesting. Should I throw in c5 at some point? You know, is another interesting question. Would it make any sense to do that? Yeah, but any other question would be like when? When would I do it? If I was to do it, when would I do it? Does f5 weaken his position, and how much so? You know, how much so does it weaken his position? Yeah, e4, I kind of think I like it. It's not like crushing or anything. It looks good optically, but timing is everything in these kind of positions. Very, very small advantage for white, I think. You can't let go of a bad plan. Sometimes you can't let go of a bad plan. Sometimes you just don't want to admit you made a mistake. And it's there's a lot of psychology in chess. And I studied psychology. I find it very interesting. And interesting to apply it to chess. I try to apply it to my teaching in chess. Now black has some choices here. Black has some choices. There's the ultra-aggressive f5. This move, which wasn't on my list, but it probably should be. Bishop e4. Here, we have every kind of interesting move. Rook e3. What about rook e3? I mean, that looks kind of good, although I was thinking maybe black has c5 there. I think c5 could be problematic for black. Yeah, so rook e3 is quite interesting. Rather than trade pieces, let's try to leave that bishop on a bad square. I think bishop c3 is okay, but it maybe helps black, you know. Obviously he's cramped. He'd prefer to trade the white squared bishop if he's going to trade a bishop at all. This rook could do some damage, maybe, under the right circumstances with a rook lift, but I'm not playing it mainly for that reason. It's just that I could double rooks favorably in some positions. I also don't want to retreat it to f4. On e2 it's exposed to knight f4. So by process of elimination, the key thing here is that I think c5 might be a mistake. Ultimate Champion. Wrong spelling, I'm kidding. Okay. Optically spelling wrong. Are you guys making fun of my words? Or am I just like paranoid. Yeah, now c5 starts to become interesting. What about c5? I've got to be careful not to do something stupid like c5, bishop f4, rook d3, f5 when I lose a piece. Yeah, he'd like to break out with c5 in this position. Bishop takes g6 is interesting. I have a big space advantage after that, but I'm not sure that's enough. Well, there's no reason to panic here. I have a better game. I mean, I've got to have a small advantage, at least. I don't really want to trade... my bishop for the knight on g6. h4 is interesting. h4. Trying to drum up some kingside ideas and highlight the targeting that knight on g6 might cause black some problems. But I'm not certain that h4 is strong or not. It's definitely interesting. Looks like all the white pieces are basically set up for a kingside attack. Now, Swedlife, we all assumed you're from Sweden, but you're probably from Australia or something. And then rook e1, I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to go to e1 here. We could play rook e2 and try to be tricky, but I mean, knight f4 could come in with tempo later on, so. Trying to keep Liberian on his toes here. Keep the pieces on the board, keep the position complicated, not let him free himself in the center. He'd like to play e5 or c5. Looks like he could try c5 at some point, but there's some danger in opening the long diagonal for black. I mean, if you look at the bishop on b2 and the pawn on g7, it's you know, it's not necessarily without danger to open the long diagonal. Now he decides to play h5, but it's a blunder. Liberian does not blunder very often, but I think the pressure got to him. And it's catastrophic for black, because you lose the h-pawn as well. So black is better in today's King's Gambit lines. Don't know what the status is, but the King's Gambit is interesting opening. I would think it would be effective to a certain level. Very effective. No one bothers to learn the King's Gambit that well for black. So I think on the practical level it is still, even if theoretically it's not that good, it's an opening I think could be very good on the practical level. Let's play e4. We haven't played much e4. Hi, Ultimate Champ, what's up? You guys, don't forget to check out my YouTube channel. We're going to put up a new video today from the tournament in Zurich. I've chosen a game to analyze. I'm not going to tell you what it is, which one it is. Not one of the Blitz games. I'm not going to like bother to analyze Blitz games on my YouTube channel unless it's like my own 15-minute game or something like that. I know there's some chess YouTubers who analyze their 5-minute games, and that's a little bit too much, you know. I mean, let's at least try to get a quality game of like 15 minutes or more. Okay, Lopez, and yeah. So this is kind of, one of my friends called this, and I think aptly so. I have a friend from Mexico, International Master Julian Estrada, and I think it was him or a friend of mine, also from Mexico, called this the refutation of chess. And I think it's not a bad name for this, basically. Knight f6. And it's all anybody's playing now, if you've noticed. If you've been paying attention to the top level games, everybody and their brother is playing the Berlin defense. And, you know, I think Lasker understood a lot of stuff long ago. Of course, Lasker didn't always go into the Berlin. He would play like Steinitz type of stuff, which isn't as good for black. D3. The refutation of chess sounds so much better. And D6. This is, yeah, I mean, totally valid when I haven't played C3. I'm going to stop giving away secrets to you guys who are playing me while I'm streaming. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to start deceiving you with inaccurate comments and stuff like that. The Jedi in particular. Jedi's not here today. He must have had a tough day yesterday, but he's been beating me lately. And I think we're going to have to start misleading some of you guys if I want to have any chance to win. Okay, so what I was going to say, Ultimate Champion, was oftentimes it's best to play G6. You get a slightly more active kind of deployment when you play G6. Knight H6 against the King's Gambit. Interesting. I prefer to play Knight H6 on move 1. I think it just, you know, gives white less options. Why wait until like move 2 to play Knight H6? I don't understand. Zug Addict is clearly just not hyper modern enough. So Rook E1. I also invented the opening E4 D5, pawn takes D5, Knight H6, which I called the 3 a.m. variation. I did a lecture on that on chesslecture.com. I do paid content for Chess Lecture. If you guys want to pay money to sign up for a good chess site for videos, you can join chesslecture.com. I have tons of videos on that site, but of course you have to pay to be a member. So most people are too cheap to do so. B5. Here, yeah, good question. I mean, should I play Bishop B3 and allow Knight A5, or should I induce Knight A5, perhaps? The Knight on C6, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to play Bishop C2. Knight on C6. Maybe I just want to give him a bishop to attack here. The jury's out on that. I mean, I don't know if I really want to play Bishop B3, Knight A5, Bishop C2. His knight's on the side of the board, but he enables his C-pawn to get in the center. So, do you think D3 is better than a normal D4? I don't think it's better. I think it's just another way to play. I'm not sure it's worse. Let me answer the question in a kind of backhanded way. I'm not sure it's worse. That would be my answer. But there's much more tension and much, you know, nowadays, you know, who wants to trade queens on like move 5 anyway? I mean, what kind of self-respecting player with the white pieces wants to trade queens on move 5 or 6 or whatever? Traditionally, the Berlin defense was thought to be better for white, I guess. But now the judgment is totally unsure. So here, should I play H3 or not? Queen C8 is an interesting move. But I don't see any reason why I have to play H3 necessarily. Another idea for me is Bishop G5 there, which would be logical, I think, to fight for control of the D5 square. This way my bishop's kind of hemmed in on C1. I'm not sure I have much after this. So maybe really it would be better to do that. Now if I play Bishop B3, he has that. Alright. We're going to go into kind of standard gioco pianissimo style here. White fights for the control of D5. H6 is an interesting move. Some